Training the 21st century workforce, especially in rural communities, is really tough. But John, it looks like you guys have been doing this for a while as far as online training and leveraging yourselves. Let's talk about Northwood Technical College first, and
Sure.
then we'll talk a little bit about the program you're just announced here with NTCA. So tell us about Northwood.
Well, we cover about a 10,000 square mile area in the northwest part of Wisconsin. There's about 320,000 people in that area, so very sparsely populated. Lots of people, lots of providers, broadband in that area. And over the years, many have struggled with workforce development issues. And so we have about 40 years of experience in the industry, telecommunications industry at our college. And of late have tried to develop kind of some innovative ways to deal with rural workforce development challenges that everybody's dealing with.
And what makes this program really unique is the fact that you're working very closely with the employers. Why don't you describe how that works?
What we know is happening is that people are desperate for employees and they're hiring them off the street and going through some kind of usually informal training program at the business. And so what we've done is worked with several businesses who are in the industry, and we've developed the theory portion for a couple of different levels of common skills. And then we're relying on the employers to help us verify that the employees have those skills. Once a student goes through the theory section, which we're providing, and we get verification from the employer that the student meets the on-the-job skills, then we're going to issue a badge that's jointly branded with the NTCA logo and our logo.
And now that is a very universal thing. So that employee then could take that anywhere as kind of a stamp that they're approved.
That's the idea, and this is a little bit different than post-secondary education models that have existed in the past, but our idea is that whether someone's moving regionally or they're moving across the country, it would be great if once somebody has that set of skills, that if they showed up at an employer with that digital badge, that they would know what that employee could do and that they'd been through a high quality program.
It's amazing the testimonials that we heard this morning from some of the folks who are doing it, some of the advantages of being online.
It's kind of a great place to start with this kind of programming, the broadband industry, because that's really what's making it possible. We can get lots of information to people now, and so we need to structure that so that it leads to the development of certain competencies. But what that also does is it removes some of the traditional barriers like the structure of a schedule. We've got it fairly open-ended and self-paced. We have milestones, but students can go through when it makes sense in their schedule. So it's not competing. They're not having to quit a job to go to school. In fact, we prefer for them to be working in the telecommunications industry while they're going to school. And it also allows employers to understand, that there's a time commitment there for some of the education as well. And so we really think it's a model that can work, keeping people in the workforce, upskilling them, and if they love the industry and stay for a long time, probably open doors to more education so they can get other kinds of jobs.
One of the things that's really interesting is that the employer acts as kind of the lab, because a lot of this is hands-on.
If you think about how much the world has changed, especially over the last few years, people, if you think about that change and then compare it to higher education, people still have pretty much the same vision of higher education as they did a few years ago. But what we're seeing is that, especially in this industry and some industries like it, employers are hiring people first and then training them second, rather than having somebody go through a program and then get hired after they complete. And it's, economics, they need the workforce. And so this recognizes that issue and uses technology to hopefully provide those skills and accommodate employers who need to have people on the job, immediately.
Tell us about the registration process as far as how a company would sign up their employees.
Sure. Well, we have, the first thing is we have an employee who's designated to supporting companies who want to enroll anywhere from one student to multiple students. What we found is that a lot of companies have at least a couple of students that they want to enroll. And so we've developed a form that they can fill out, and it allows us to bill them directly. But students could still go online and find this themselves and be responsible for the tuition fees, or a company could steer an employee this direction, and they could pay the college directly. But we do have options for employers to sort of sponsor students to go through the program.
To be clear, it is nationwide, even though your geographic boundaries have tended to North Wisconsin. Anyone in the country can do this, right?
Right, it's all because of broadband. We have developed it in a way to serve our local region, but our local region is very rural, and so travel is a barrier for a lot of people. And again, we found that it became popular kind of on a statewide basis, and then we had some other students from other states taking the class. And so we decided once we talked to NTCA that we should try to formalize something that would make it available across the country.
So how will this complement, or does it complement, manufacturer-specific programs certified on their equipment?
This is a pretty general program, and so we have 2 levels of badge. One is a customer service specialist, and the other one is an installer badge. There is a 3rd level badge, which is leads more into like IT type programs, so it gets more into like cybersecurity and those kinds of things. But it really is not specific to vendors. If I'm understanding, like you were talking about vendors, as I understood that question.
So you'd still have certified programs from those vendors on their equipment type of thing. This would just complement that.
Yeah. So vendors definitely, if they have unique aspects to the products that they're selling to the companies that are using them, they'd probably have some type of training as well.
And I think this was alluded to in the presentation, the idea that this really can encourage kids in the community that there are jobs there, they don't have to go away, and that there's a career path. Maybe you can talk to that and talk to the outreach aspects of that.
What I mentioned this morning is that I think everybody understands how connected they are and relies on technology more than they ever have. But a lot of people don't know what happens, the work that happens to make all of that work. And so I think there's an opportunity to do outreach and educate people about sort of what happens behind the scenes, make them aware that there's great jobs out there, and hopefully then offer them some training that can lead to that career path, and hopefully provide a solution to the workforce development issue that exists.
Well, it's very great to hear what you guys are doing. It's exciting, and good luck with it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Great talking to you.